If you're a football fan and you're bummed that the NFL is over, have no fear. The XFL is here, and it's gonna give you plenty more chances to watch and bet on professional football. The XFL is quite a bit different than the NFL. Right now in 2020, we're heading into our first year of XFL action. Well, the first year of the new XFL. We won't count that mess that happened in 2001. Just go ahead and forget that that happened. The XFL has several new rules, and with these new rules comes new things to think about when you're betting. So let's run through all the changes the XFL is bringing to professional football and how that may affect the way you bet on the games. Let's start with the clock. Instead of the 40-second play clock that the NFL has, the XFL play clock is only 25 seconds long. Additionally, in the last 2 minutes of each half, the clock stops after every play until the ball has been spotted. These new rules with the clock will lead to more plays being run in a game, which in turn will likely lead to more points being scored. Now, what I say next might surprise you. Are you sitting down? Special teams plays in the XFL will actually be really exciting. The XFL has said that they want more opportunities for big plays, and their kickoff and punt rules really illustrate that. To start off, if the ball is punted or kicked into the end zone, the XFL touchback goes to the 35-yard line, opposed to the NFL touchback going to the 25-yard line. Also, if a ball is punted out of bounds inside the opponent's 35, the ball doesn't get spotted where it went out of bounds. Instead, it goes to the 35-yard line. On kickoffs, the kicker and the return man line up as you would normally see them in an NFL or a college game. But the other 10 players on each team line up 5 yards away from each other on the 35 and 30-yard line. When the ball is kicked off, only the kicker and the return man are allowed to move until the returner catches the ball. At that point, the blockers and the coverage team can all start blocking and trying to get to the returner. Similarly, on a punt, the coverage team can't cross the line of scrimmage until the ball has been punted. This gives the returner much more time to find lanes after catching the ball. With no coffin corner punts and fewer touchbacks, and the return man having more time and space to return the ball, expect a lot fewer fair catches and a lot more exciting returns. The goal of these special teams rules is to make punt returns and kick returns a big part of the game and to incentivize teams to maybe go for it on 4th down if they're near midfield. Giving the returners more time will lead to bigger returns, which leads to shorter fields, which then leads to more scoring. To me, these rules clearly indicate that the XFL should be higher scoring than the NFL. So don't be surprised if the over-under point totals are higher in the XFL than what you're used to in the NFL. These special teams rules also provide value in fantasy and DFS. If you have a wide receiver on your team who is also the punt or the kick returner, they have a pretty decent shot at tacking on a couple extra touchdowns through the return game. When it comes to the point after touchdown, there's no longer an option to kick an extra point. Instead, now teams will decide if they want to go for 1, 2, or 3 points. For 1 point, you have to score from the 2-yard line. For 2 points, you have to score from the 5-yard line, and for 3 points, you have to score from the 10-yard line. All with just one play, essentially like a 2-point conversion in the NFL, but with varying degrees of difficulty. Not only does this allow for higher scoring games in the XFL, but it also takes everything we knew about key numbers in the NFL and completely throws it away. For those of you who don't know, key numbers are the most common margins of victory in a game and the most common point totals in a game. So for example, the 2 biggest key numbers in the NFL when you're betting the spread are 3 and 7. Due to the nature of scoring in the NFL, with 3 and 7 being the 2 predominant ways to score, those also happen to be the 2 most common margins of victory in NFL games. But now with the introduction of 1, 2, and 3-point options for extra points, the XFL is going to have some really interesting scores, and the odds makers in Vegas are going to have to really adjust how they set their spreads. There's a couple other fun rules that are worth looking into, but that don't really pertain to betting, like you can have 2 forward passes in 1 play, and when you get to overtime, you enter a shootout like in hockey. Those sound like a lot of fun, but they don't really interest me as a bettor as much as these other rules. It'll be really interesting to see how these new coaches take advantage of the new rules and to see how odds makers make sense of these crazy scores we're gonna see in the XFL. A team down by 18 points with just 3 minutes left in the game still has a very real chance of tying the game with just 2 touchdowns. I can't wait to bet on this insanity. If you want to bet on the XFL, thepropsnetwork.com has all the best bonuses from the top legal betting sites in the United States. And while you're here, go ahead and subscribe to the Props Network YouTube channel.